Hi, everybody. It's Pastor Michelle here. I'm here interviewing Larry Walton. He is our Secretary of Church Council, and so he is my next interviewee. How are you doing today, Larry?
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Good. Thanks for doing this today. And we're going to get started asking you a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself, your life. I mean, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was born in Coffeyville, Kansas, 81 years ago. Um, I my uh, when I grew up. My family lived on a farm, and my mother and father and grandmother lived on the farm. My mother and father divorced when I was a year and 4 months old. Um, my father got full custody. After that, my father passed away before I was 6 years old. And my grandmother raised me, and she adopted me. My mother was never in the picture. She was cut out of the picture, more or less. I was raised in a Nazarene church and baptized in a Nazarene church. Um, we lived on the farm until I was in the ninth grade. Then we moved to town. I had parted ways with the Nazarene church when I was a sophomore in high school. While in high school, I worked at this uh, Coffeyville Public Library and also the local swimming pool. Um, I After I left the Nazarene Church, I went to the United Brethren while I was still in high school. Now, between my junior and senior year, I moved to Stillwater, Oklahoma, with my grandmother to uh, get the in-state tuition at Oklahoma State University.
Okay.
I There I worked at the Stillwater Public Library and any other job that I could possibly get to give me money to support my college education and my grandmother. That's involved everything from cleaning gyms to pushing a broom in classroom buildings. Um, I attended the Disciples of Christ campus ministry while, while I was going to Oklahoma State. I got married before I graduated and had a son. I graduated with a chemistry degree. I was planning to go on to get a PhD in chemistry, but there was no way I could do it with supporting both my grandmother and my son. So I, I got a job at Pet Incorporated Research Center in Greenville, Illinois.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up on this part of the world. Um, anyway, I was a technical librarian there, which was interesting because I had a degree in chemistry, but I had background in literature, and
Yeah.
consequently, um, the everybody I sent my resume, save one, were interested in the library background and not the chemistry. So that was how I ended up as a librarian. Anyway, I took my grandmother to a local Baptist church in Greenville until she had a stroke.
Okay.
One of the things I did was she lived in a separate house from us for a long time. And I would go to the house every night and read the Bible to her because her eyes weren't good enough to read. And I usually read 2 or 3 verses of the Bible. Um, this occurred over a 15-year period,
Yeah.
which you think about how many times one could go through the Bible after over 15 years. Anyway, I went to Washington University and got a Library of Science degree. Um, they, I also got transferred to St. Louis at Pet Incorporated as their corporate librarian. In 1977, I watched Roots that was on PBS, and it got me interested in trying to find out about my mother, because up until that time, I'd heard nothing but negative things about her.
Yeah.
And I had thought I knew what her name was and where she was located. Well, it turned out that I was wrong on every aspect. Um, One of the things my grandmother had was she saved every Christmas card she ever got in her life. So we had a banker's box full of Christmas cards. And I truly believe God guided my hand in finding the card that had her name on it and her address. Because it was the third card I picked out of this entire bunch of cards. I went through later and found that that was the only card in that whole bunch that had her name and address. I contacted her and found out I had 3 half sisters and a half brother. So that was kind of a interesting thing, because all the things I've been told about her in the past were not true.
Okay.
But it was quite a education. But she had tried to figure out where I lived, but she thought I lived in the Kansas City area. So she was off, pretty far off too. Anyway, shortly after my grandmother passed away, I got a divorce and moved to St. Louis. And didn't have a church home for a time. My son graduated from Greenville College and got married sometime afterwards. I went to the University of Missouri and got a master's degree in library science and information science. I met Mary Ann. We were brought kind of together because I did training on certain library systems, and the people that she worked for decided that she needed to be trained on the system, and so I was her trainer, and we sort of got along rather well. And obviously, we got married, and our merger, we got married at the St. Paul's UCC in Columbia.
Okay.
And over the years, we ended up with 7 grandchildren between us.
Oh, nice.
We ascended the St. John's UCC in Ballmeyer on high holidays, and when our grandchildren were being confirmed and that sort of thing. But and that's how we got, or I got acquainted with the UCC church. I got Pet Incorporated got bought by Pillsbury, and the company didn't need me or much of anybody else that's with Pet, so I had to find a new job, and I was very blessed and fortunate to pick up the job immediately at Mallinckrodt Chemical as the head of the research library.
Nice.
And I was there for 16 years and retired. Well, shortly after retired, I had a heart episode, as I call it. It was basically a little heart attack. And I had to get open heart surgery. And while I was waiting to go in, I was really concerned and worried about Mary Ann, because I thought if I didn't survive this, what does she do? And Pastor Kramer came in before I went into surgery, talked to me, and told me, prayed with me, and I went into surgery completely, totally relaxed. Got up the next second day after surgery. Pastor Kramer came by and with his church nurse and talked to him, and I was very impressed by him. Anyway, I after rehab, went back to going down to St. John's and Ballmeyer, but I was extremely drawn to St. Paul's. I just felt like I wanted to be there, and so during that summer, Marianne and I went, and we met such wonderful people and such welcoming people. The one person who jumps into my mind is Marlene Nellis. Anyway, this was I really felt part of the welcome in the church. But when the first communion I had there, as I was taking the wine, a feeling shot through my body that I cannot describe. Never felt it before, never felt it afterwards. And as I could hear the words, "This is where you belong." And it wasn't too long after that we joined the church. And I've been part of this church ever since.
Oh, that's wonderful. And how long ago did you join the church?
About 6 years ago.
Okay, 6 years ago.
And
And so you've not too long, but it sounds like you've been busy doing a lot with the church in that time.
yes, I have. I've been on the stewardship and nominating committee. I've been the co-chair of the uh, finance and budget committee, and I've been on the library committee, and now I'm on the secretary of the uh, of the
Of council and executive
I
council.
just went blank all of a sudden.
That's okay. That's okay. Mine does that all the time when I'm trying to talk, so no worries. Um, so those are so you're doing a lot of things. I know you're also sometimes an usher too.
Oh yeah, I forgot being an usher, and we
Yeah.
won't do it much anymore.
No, not right now, but some point again we might, where we'll need your help, I'm sure, but it's been very helpful that you've been able to do that up until just a couple months ago. So, thank you. I know that you mentioned about that communion experience as a particular favorite memory. Anything else that you wanted to add to it?
Well, just the welcome that we received at the church when we first visited, and the other thing was when Marianne passed. I
Okay.
went to heaven. How supportive the church people were for me
Yeah.
and helped me through the grief that I felt at the loss of her.
Yeah.
And it's just been um, almost overwhelming how good they've been to me.
Yeah, and I wish I would have had the chance to meet her. I know she passed away the weekend I was doing my neutral pulpit at the church. So,
Yes, and
yeah,
it was right after she passed that we met.
yeah, yeah.
I wasn't very good company that day. That was for sure.
Oh no, you were fine. It was
And
wonderful meeting you that day. I just, I just I it was a hard time for you. So know that you were fine. That's a hard time.
well,
Um,
I was asked by Reverend Robert about being there, and I just said to him, "Where else should I be?"
yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Well, that takes a lot of resilience. So I'm glad you were there that night.
Well, I'm glad I met you there. That was a good time, and it helped me along too.
Good. I'm glad. And that was we had a dinner that night just to let people know we had dinner that night over at 4204 with the search committee and the executive council. So it was a blessing. That was a night that I had the chance to meet Larry. So um, well, why should someone check out St. Paul?
Well, to me, beyond the obvious of the friendliness of the people and the way they are welcoming, it's the acceptance of people as they are,
Yeah.
without any judgmental things going on. And one is, to me, a great thing for the UCC in general is you don't, when you attend the church, UCC, you don't have to check in your brain.
Right.
You carry it right in with you and accept everything and realize that um, you're not going to be judged on how you what you think.
Absolutely. And that science and reason is a big thing. And I know for someone who is a scientist, being able to embrace science and faith in each hand is super important. So
It
um,
truly is. It
yeah,
truly
it's important to me too.
it when you've spent your entire career in the sciences, it's hard to accept some of the things that's said by other denominations.
Right. Right. It can be, and we're the UCC is a denomination where we have people who have all different types of views, and many people who really embrace science as a very important part of the way that they process information, and that's for me that's important too. Like I said, and that's definitely a value of the denomination. So, Larry, what are some of your hobbies? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, right now I'm into gardening
Mm-hmm.
with a focus on, well, my focus in gardening has always been flowers.
Yes.
This is the first year I've tried to grow vegetables.
Okay.
Everything seems to be growing quite well now. I'm just looking out my window and I notice that the African lilies are starting to bloom. So in
Okay.
about 2 or 3 days, it'll be a real bright orange and red area of my garden for those. The other thing I enjoy is watching birds evolve. I My kitchen table looks out into my backyard, and I have several bird feeders, and I get quite a bit of enjoyment just relax watching the birds come and go.
Yeah.
And of course, as a librarian, I enjoy reading, and most of my reading is either in the sciences or uh, novels. I also read some of the things by Bell and Evans and Hegel's uh, and Erdman.
Okay, so that's
It's
uh
quite interesting.
I'm sorry.
I said I find the information, the things I'm reading quite interesting.
Yes. And like so one of them was Rachel Held Evans.
Yes.
Yes. And I know she passed away last year, but she's got a few great books out there that is wonderful for any study. And then you said Elaine Kegels, that's it. Yes. And that's an important um, that is yeah, she's got some great books. There's one called Adam, Eve, and the Serpent that we read in seminary. So yeah, I'm kind of a fan of her work too. And who else did you mention?
Erdman.
Okay.
He's
Yes.
does a lot on history and development of the Christianity and Christian religion.
Yes. And there was one other one. You said
Bell,
Bell. Okay. Oh, Rob Bell?
Rob Bell, yes.
Okay. Yeah. And his view is very much about kind of like a universalism, I think, when it comes to salvation, if I
Mm-hmm.
understand it correctly. So, which is
I've read a goodly number of his books.
okay.
Uh, Reverend Kramer, Pastor Kramer, introduced us to his writings,
Yeah.
Bible study.
Oh, very cool.
So, and I'm also working on my family history
Oh, nice.
because I'm trying to. Well, I've traced my family back to England and Scotland,
Okay.
and some of my family came from Scotland to via Canada of all places.
Oh, nice.
So I've got a little Canadian connection.
Yes.
That's hard to say. And on my mother's side, I found out that a number of her antecedents were Methodist ministers.
Oh, nice.
So that was kind of an interesting thing. And then my uh, my family were original settlers in Coffeyville area.
Okay.
So that's got a lot of history there that I enjoy, and trying to collect some of the pictures that of the family.
Okay. Well, that's
And
nice.
anyway, so that's kind of what keeps me busy, other than church things, which
Yeah.
keeps me a little busy too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm totally amazed at all the blessings that God has given me over my years. I just cannot believe. I didn't deserve any of it, but He's blessed me anyway. And I have had so many good opportunities and good people who have supported me and pushed me along. So this being part of this church is probably the ultimate thing for me.
Very good. And I am going to ask you the question that I mentioned, which is the question that's on the show Inside the Actor Studio that James Lipton always asks at the end of his questions, which is let's see, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well, quite frankly, it would be for I would be happiest when God says, "There's Mary Ann. She's been waiting for you."
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah. Well, what a blessing in your life that you had the chance to meet her and be with her for a number of years and, um, you know, have an expanded family with all those children and grandchildren together. And, what a blessing that has been for
Has
you.
been a blessing, and I had I thank God every day for the 27 years we were together,
Yeah.
and I thought it's when she was diagnosed with a breast cancer. Yeah, 12 years after that,
Okay.
and I uh, thank God for every year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're so grateful that you are such an active member of St. Paul and that you care so much about your neighbors and your family. And thank you for all you do for the church and everything.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for your time today. I know um, it's just wonderful to get to know the members of our church, and we're just kind of making our way through our members by doing these interviews. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you.